and Literature, organized by the PG Department of English, Dwaraka Dos Govardhan Dos Vaishnav College. I'm Sarah Francis from 2nd MA English, and alongside me is Thiruvasagan from 1st BA English, and it is our honor to guide you through this esteemed inaugural program.
It is better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without a heart. Let us commence today's event by invoking the spirit of unity with the Tamil Thai Varthu, followed by your college prayer. May I kindly request you all to please rise.
சீராரும் வதனமென திகழ்வரது கண்டமில் எக்கணமும் அதிசிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை முதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம் மிகுந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
सत्यव्रतं सत्यपरं त्रिसत्यं सत्यस्य योनिं निहितं च सत्ये सत्यस्य सत्यं धृतसत्यनेत्रं सत्यात्मकं त्वां शरणं प्रपन्नाः वाणी गुणानुकथने श्रवणो कथायां हस्तौ च कर्मसु मनस्तव पादयोर्नः स्मृत्यां शिरस्तव निवास जगत्प्रणामे दृष्टिः सतां दर्शनेस्तु भवत्तनूनाम् नमो भगवते तस्मै कृष्णायाद्भुतकर्मणे रूपनामविभेदेन जगत्क्रीडति यो यतः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Lights symbolize the victory of good over evil, knowledge over ignorance, and hope over despair. As we gather here today to illuminate the lamp, let us invoke the divine light of wisdom and understanding.
I request the dignitaries on the dais to light the Kuttu Vedakku as part of our tradition and as a symbol of hope.
Thank you. Now it is with great pleasure that we extend a warm welcome to each one of you participating in this conference. Your presence here is a testament to your commitment for academic excellence. To set the tone for the day, we are honored to have with us Professor Mr. J. Praveen Prabhu, the head of the PG Department of English of Dwarka Dos Govardhan Dos Vaishnav College. His guidance and support have been invaluable. Please join me in welcoming Mr. J. Praveen Prabhu, Head PG Department of English, for the welcome address.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, program coordinators, paper presenters, a warm good morning to one and all present here. On behalf of Dwarka Das Govardhan Das Vaishnav College and PG Department of English, I extend a hearty welcome to everybody for the International Conference on Global Perspectives in Contemporary English Language and Literature. I would like to welcome my inspiration, our pillar of our support, our principal, Dr. S. Santosh Babu sir, for our international conference. We welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to welcome the keynote address, Professor Smitra Kannan, a former faculty of English, a Christian Albert University, Kiel, Germany. We welcome you, ma'am. I'm very happy welcoming the chairing persons of the international conference, Dr. R. Ilangovan, Associate Professor and Head, Department of English, A.M. Jain College, Chennai. We welcome you, sir. Next, I would like to welcome I.G. Aruna Rani, Dr. I.G. Aruna Rani, ma'am, Associate Professor, Queen Mary's College, Chennai. We welcome you, ma'am. I would like to welcome Priya Darshini, ma'am, Associate Professor, KCS Kasinada College, Chennai. We welcome you, ma'am. Yeah, the objective of the international conference, we have the global perspectives in contemporary English language and literature. We have circulated the brochure for scholars, educators, and enthusiasts to delve into the vibrant tapestry of English language and literature in today's interconnected world. On behalf of Dwarka Das Govardhan Das Vaishnav College and PG Department of English, I extend my hearty welcome to Professor and Head Dr. S. Chidambaranathan from Sociology Department and Professor Premalada Madam from Finance and Taxation. Once again, I would like to welcome you all for the international conference. W.B. Yeats, one of the famous Irish poets, in one of his famous poem, Easter 1916, The Terrible Beauty is Born. Similarly, the International Conference on Global Perspectives, English Language and Literature, the day to be cherished. Once again, on behalf of Dwarka Das Govardhan Das Vaishnav College and PG Department of English, I extend a hearty welcome and a red carpet welcome for everybody, the paper presenters and the scholars from various colleges and universities. We welcome you all. My best wishes to everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We're truly grateful for your constant support.
Next, I call upon Dr. S. Santosh Babu, our principal, patron, and convener of Dwarka Das Govardhan Das Vaishnav College, to address the gathering. We welcome you, sir.
Jai Sri Krishna. Very warm good morning to all. Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. I am very happy to be with you today for the international conference conducted by the PG Department of English in the topic of contemporary English language and also literature, which is need of the hour, and for which we are having a good number of chief guest and a guest and a person for chairing, which they are all very much known to me. I like to welcome Professor Sumitra Kannan, former Faculty of English, Christian Albert University, Germany, for accepting our invitation to to make it as an international conference, because we need an international personality to talk in the conference, then only we can make it as an international conference. So I'm happy that you are with us in Dwarakadas Vaishnav College. So it shows his interest on our institution. And when you talk about Dr. R. Ilangovan from A.M. Jain College, A.M. Jain College, where I have a friend called as Tulasi. He is an NCC officer, and he used to be with me in the refresher program and orientation program at NCC ComT, almost for 3 months together. So such a relationship. I have a lot of friends in A.M. Jain College. And when you talk about Kasinadar College, Priyadarshini Madam, I have one computer professor called Dhanapalan, who is a very close friend of mine. And we are all working in the field of computer science in the year 1991 itself, where that Dhanapalan professor is the HOD of Bishop Weber College, Trichy. So during the time I used to visit Kasinadar College. So we have a very close relationship with that institution also. And when we come to Dr. I.G. Aruna Rani, Associate Professor of Queen Mary's College, her husband is a very close friend of mine. He is working in the University of Madras, Professor Sundaram, where he is very close friend of mine. Even I used to go to his home, and he used to have, every day we used to talk over phone about the development of the university and about the higher education. That's why this madam also very close to Vaishnav College because of that. And like that, all like-minded are here for the benefit of the students. Creating a platform for the students to present their views is very important in the current scenario. And every time when we have programs like this in our institution, I used to tell that 30 to 40% of the students should be our students, so that only we can create a platform for our students so that they can present their papers. So as part of this, I think more than 30 people are going to present a paper in this international conference. And apart from that, we are going to have a professor from Jahangirnar University, Bangladesh, Dr. M. Maniaras on, and other well-wishers like Professor Dinesh Kumar are all Dayal Singh College, Haryana, then Dr. S. Krishna from Amit University. When you talk about Amit University, is a Pro-Chancellor, Professor G. Tiruvasagam. He's a Vice-Chancellor when I was working in Bardiyar University. So when you come for academic fraternity, because of my contact throughout the country, knowingly or unknowingly, through reference, I have a good contact with most of the institutions. So this is the connectivity we have in Dwarakadas Vaishnav College. We are working together towards the quality education. You know very well that our institution is an A++ institution. Getting A++ is not an easy job. All academicians, students will know that. Scoring A++, where we have to score in all category equally. Even if you are not good in infrastructure, scores go. If you are not good in curriculum, scores goes out. If the students are not doing extracurricular activities, score goes down. So that is the thing. Even in NIRF ranking, how many of you don't know about NIRF? I don't know. But as far as Dwarakadas Vaishnav College is concerned, we are within 100 to 150 in NIRF ranking. Why I am telling you is, going to ranking with 11,500 students, with 450 faculty members, around 40 program means it is not an easy job. Suppose if one department is not functioning very well means automatically our scores will come down. And making all the faculty members and all the students to work together towards the goal is not an easy job, but in Vaishnav College we are able to achieve. This time we are applied for NIRF, we have given all inputs to the NIRF, but we are waiting for the perception. Last year in the perception, out of 100, we scored only 15 marks. Because most of the students, most of the faculty members, most of the well-wishers, stakeholders, they doesn't know about the importance of NIRF. Because of that, they have not given a good word, or they have not even entered their input to the NIRF. That's why we scored. So this year we are very clear that we have made all the faculty members to aware about NIRF, and wherever I go to any program, I used to talk to the students about the NIRF, where the perception will come for the students, parents, faculty members, institutions, placement, all these category perception will come. When it comes, always be positive on the perception so that you can say that you are studying in a ranked university, NIRF ranked university with this 100. You can say that you are studying in a A++ institution in Chennai, like that you can say. This benefit you will get only if you are in ranking, and also you know that the competition for higher education is growing tremendously. The quality output of higher education, giving a quality output from the institution is becoming a very big task. That's why in our institution, apart from curriculum, wherever we are not able to bridge the gap with the industry, we are giving a value-added courses and skill development courses. Even the government of Tamil Nadu, before consuming the concept of non-Mudalvan scheme, we are doing that for the past 4 years. And what are the input we did that was given to the government, so that the government have done all these things. So like us, there's a lot of institutions, autonomous institutions are there. We are performing very well. But at the same time, we could not sit quiet and we are A++, we are NIR, but still we have to work hard. The competition going, you know that our institution have to compete with a lot of private universities. Almost in Chennai city, there are 12 to 13 private universities. They are starting the admission even today. For next year, if you go today, you can get the admission. But we are not like that. We are waiting for the results, then only we are starting the admission. In spite of that, we are able to get a quality input. Suppose if you want to maintain the quality input, it is in the hands of the faculty members and it is in the hands of the students like you. These type of programs will help you to create a platform for you to excel. And in coming years, we are going to have 11th, third years, you know that. On 11th, we are going to have an exclusive job fair for our institutions. For the past 6-7 days, we are working in NAC room, where we are calling more than 1,000 companies to come for a job fair. This is the first time we are trying. I don't know what will be the output we are going to get on 11th March. But anyhow, we are putting our best for this job fair, so that 2,000 students have been registered in the job fair so far. So these 2,000 students, I have met all the 2,000 students 2 days before in the SRG auditorium. I briefed about the importance where if the company is ready to come, if you are not able to supply a good product, then whatever the efforts we put will go away. And automatically next year, no company will be coming. The loser will be the second year students. That's why I asked all the final year students to start preparing themselves for their placement, so that I have given you one website from Impact Pro to all the students. How many of you are final years here? Third year. I think how many have attended that pre-placement meeting? So in that we have briefed very clearly about the importance of job fair. And again, we are going to have a blood donation. On March 3rd and 4th, we are going to have a blood donation. 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th. 5 and 6. March 5th and 6th, we are going to have a blood donation camp. Always Vaishnava College will be in a top in giving a blood donation. Last year we got 1,800. This year we are planning 2,024 units in a single camp. So everything we are giving a task. Every day faculties are working. Every day students are working. For what? For what? We want to have a quality output from the institution. So this is the main motto of Vaishnava College, where these all people are also contributing to Vaishnava College by way of expecting, by way of giving their talents to you, and they are by way of being a chairperson, they are going to give lot of input to you. You get the input and improve yourself, set your goal, work hard. With these few words, once again I like to congratulate Dr. Praveen and other faculty members and also the students for conducting this international conference. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for consistently supporting the Department of English, and we are truly grateful for your unwavering commitment.
Now it is time to honor the resource persons for the day. I call upon Honorable Principal Dr. S. Santosh Babu sir to felicitate the chairpersons. First, I'd like to welcome Professor Sumitra Kannan, former Faculty of English, Christian Albert University, Kiel, Germany. Next, I'd like to welcome Dr. R. Ilangovan, Associate Professor and Head Department of English, A.M. Jain College, Chennai. I request our principal to honor Dr. Ilmai. Now, I welcome Dr. I.G. Aruna Rani, Associate Professor, Queen Mary's College, Chennai. I'd also like to welcome Dr. S. Priyadarshini, Associate Professor, KCS Kasi Nadar College, Chennai. Now, I call upon our head of the department, Professor Mr. J. Praveen Prabhu Sir, to honor our principal, Dr. S. Santosh Babu. Thank you. Now I request Thiruvasagan to introduce Professor Sumitra Kannan.
We extend a warm welcome to Professor Sumitra Kannan, an esteemed educator with a rich background in English language teaching. Her diverse experience spans from teaching at school for applied sciences and Christian Albert University, Kiel, Germany, to working with children in kindergarten, showcasing a profound understanding of language education at various levels. She has completed her post-graduation at Madras Christian College and undergraduation at Vaishnav College for Women, Chromebait. She has published nearly 12 review articles, and her journey also includes valuable contributions in countries like Japan, India, and Germany, emphasizing her global expertise. We are honored to have you here, ma'am.
Before that, I'd like to request all the staff to please get on the dais for a group picture.
ஓகே சொல்றேங்க
Thank you. Now let us gain insights from our distinguished keynote speaker, Professor Sumitra Kannan. We welcome you, ma'am.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Okay. I kindly thank the organizers for inviting me, and I thank you all for bringing your patience to come here and listen to me. In the order, I also need to thank a few other people. I need to thank my teachers who set me on this path. And today I look back and think about their wonderful service. I also need to thank my parents for putting me on to this, because in the time that I was growing up, it was very common to get married, settle down, have babies. That was the order of the day. But that they encouraged me and gave me the insight, so I really need to thank them. But most of all, I need to thank my husband. It's commonly known that behind a strong man, there is usually a woman who supports him. But what about the man who's behind a strong woman? So although my husband is not here this morning, I thank him with all my heart for being my support. Looking at you all, I am reminded of my very first time in Vaishnav College. You probably at least some of you heard that I did my undergraduation in Vaishnav College, Krumpet. So you are close to my heart. So it seems like we already know each other somehow. So I'm just thinking of my first day at Vaishnav College. When I stood there, I was a young, inexperienced girl holding my form and shivering before the principal that I had to meet for her to approve my being there. And today I'm standing before you as a gray-haired woman, and I wonder where all this time went by. It's hard for me to understand this. Anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is you will all get there too. All you need to do is focus and have a passion. This morning I was talking to some of my colleagues here, and they told me that English department is sometimes used as a sort of resting department. So students who have not managed to get into other courses simply fall back into the English department as a way of doing that, of getting a degree, of not doing very much. I would really ask you to take a hard look at that. If you want to achieve anything in life, you need to focus and you need to set your priorities. Don't waste your time. You think you're young and, you can do it tomorrow. But you know, like I told you, I was a young girl like you, and today I'm a gray-haired woman and I don't know where time has gone. So time is fleeting, and it's very important to set your priorities. I'm going to tell you why you should do English. What is the need to study English? I mean, madam from BCom doing, yeah, and taxation is very important. We all understand the importance of taxation and how to get out of it. But what help does English do? So why should we study English at all? Because we didn't get into the medicals, because we didn't get into engineering. So I'm going to try and showcase my life and tell you a few lessons that I learned from English. Like you can imagine, I studied a long time ago. So at that time, there was not so much of a competition that you are faced with now. But we also did not have job fairs or help from the college. There was nobody supporting us. Nobody introduced us to companies or even gave us a direction to our lives. We went into college, we studied, and we went out, and we had to look at our own options that were available to us. So when I finished my undergraduate at Vaishnav, then I went on to Madras Christian College and did my master's because I knew I wanted to study, but I also knew I didn't want to get married, and that was the only option. So I went in there. And after I finished master's, I had no idea what I should do. I went to the employment office and got myself registered, but there was nothing open to me. And then, of course, if you did English and literature, the only option available to you was working as a teacher. And I came from a conservative family, and that was good for me because teaching was an acceptable job. My parents did not mind my teaching. And then I started looking around for opportunities to teach. My first job was at a residential school in Kundur, where the teachers were underpaid and overworked. And I had no idea of teaching. I had just completed my master's like you all. I had done a couple of dramas, a couple of poetry, a couple of novels, and I had done some bit of literary criticism or phonetics. And there I just had this handful of ideas or book knowledge. And then I was thrown into the school and had to deal with different classes. So I got classes starting from the 2nd grade, the 3rd grade, to the 10th grade. And this was a huge range. Children of the 2nd grade needed a very different skill of what they needed was very different from what the students in the 10th grade. But this was precisely my teacher. I was thrown to them and they taught me how to teach. So the first rule of teaching is if you would like to become a teacher, please start teaching people. Only while teaching people do you understand how to teach. I probably worked in that school for 5 to 6 months. My marriage was arranged. I had to give up the school and I had to come back to Chennai and get married, like any good girl. So, after just 5 or 6 months of teaching these children, where I had learned valuable lessons, I did not realize it then. It was only later when I started looking back at my life I understood this. I got an idea, but I had to stop working and I had to come down and get married. And you know, when I came back not only with this understanding that the children had given me, but I also came back with a suitcase full of notebooks, pencils, erasers, scales, or everything that the children had in a boarding school. They did not have too much, but they wanted to show their love to me. And they sent me back with letters and pencils and erasers. I could have opened a shop with all of what I got. And then I realized that that was my second lesson, that language and literature always has to do with relationships. It has to do with opening of your heart. It has to do with understanding the other person. It has to do with passion. It has to do with love. So if you are into literature, these are very important tools that you need to have. You cannot say, literature is there, I am here. Literature needs interaction. After my wedding, after my marriage, I moved to Madurai and I looked around for a job. The very first job I got was at TVS Madurai. It was a school, TVS school. And I went for the interview, and the interview hall had 250 people sitting in there. It was a huge hall like this, and there were rows of people sitting. So this may not be unusual to you. So you might think, so what? Of course. But it was still in the 80s, if you remember, early 80s. And it was very unusual. I got a scare. I thought it looked like a wedding hall. And I'm here for an interview, 250 people for a single position of I think it was a first grade or second grade teacher. And that's where I was. Anyway, when you are thrown in such a situation, it is often good to be slightly different from everybody else. So when I was called in for the interview, and the interviewer said, so why are you applying for this job? I said to them, that's because you do not pay your scientists well. Meaning my husband was not well paid, so I have to be here. I have to see that I support the family, you know. So it was a bit cheeky, actually, but it helped me. So out of the 250 people, I knew, even as I finished the interview, I knew I had got the job, simply because I was slightly different. Anyway, I only lasted in the school for, again, 3 or 4 months. The next job I had was at a college in Madurai. When I went to the college, I found it very, very school-like. So it was a very rigid college. It did not fit me. I stayed there again for maybe 2 or 3 months. I don't have a very good history, you see. So I stayed there for a few months, and then I moved on to a different college, which gave me freedom and where I could breathe, where students were free, where people could think. It was like moving from a communist system into democracy. I really could feel the change in the air, and I could feel the difference in the students. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time. In that place, I realized that teaching is a little dance that we do. It is there are two units in the classroom. The teacher is on one hand, the students on the other hand. And usually, even now, I can see some of you are sitting there passively with your hand like that. And what is she going to throw at us? Let's see. That's not what it is. It is an interaction, it's a live interaction. You know, it's not just me speaking to you, but it's also what you are sending out as vibrations to me. What do I feel? So a classroom is, I found, was a little complicated dance that we did. I stood there, I was the teacher according to the college, and I was bringing out this information to the students. But the students were also there. They were all potential waiting to be discovered, and it was their ideas, their questions, their awakening that helped me along on my way. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this job extremely, and then my husband got a job opportunity in Japan, and we had to move to Japan. Usually people love to go out of the country, but I was in such a nice job that I didn't want to do this. I was not very happy about going to Japan at all. Anyway, again, like a good wife, I went with him. And in Japan, my husband worked, like you all know, Japanese work ethics are very different. They work from 8 in the morning to 11 or 11:30 p.m. at night. So this was my husband's routine. I did not speak Japanese. There was no English television. There were no English books available. There were no friends. I did not have a job. I did not have a child. I was at home with nothing to do. And you might think this is the worst scenario, or at least I thought it was the worst scenario. I really missed my home, I missed my friends, I missed my job, I missed my students. But it's only through suffering, only through difficulties that we are pushed on to the next step, which we never ever realize when it's happening. It takes a long time. You pass that stage, and then when you look back, you realize, oh, that was that was the impetus that I had to move on. Anyway, I had an American friend, and she used to teach English in Japan. And she had to go away someplace, and she asked me if I would take over her class. I was thrilled. This was my chance to meet students in an atmosphere, in a sort of teaching atmosphere again. And I readily agreed to it. I taught 2 of her classes for a single day, and I got a job. So now I was working for what was called the Nichibei Gakuin. It's the Japanese American School for Languages in Japan. And I started meeting people. I started meeting the Japanese, and I started getting to know their culture, getting to know their language, getting to know their mentality, and it was a wonderful period. I spent 4 years of my life in Japan, and all those 4 years were filled with work. I met many people, and again, I worked in different places. I worked at this language institute. I also worked at something called a juku. Maybe some of you know what a juku is? No? You are lucky that you live in India. If you lived in Japan, Indian parents force their children to study. They are very keen on education. But you haven't been to probably China or Japan. If you were born in Japan, your parents would be 3 times of the parents that your parents are now, meaning to say they would really force you. Japanese parents are very intent on making the best of their children. So, jugus are places where children are sent to, and children learn things other than their school there. And language is always, always a very important thing, especially for the East Asian countries. So there's so much of disturbance there. I really wish that you would listen to me because, after all, you are sitting here and spending your time, right? So, can I ask you for your attention, please? I'll continue when you're done with your talking. If you think of this communication as a dance, one of us can't dance and the other not pay attention. It doesn't work. It needs two parties, right? Okay, thank you. So anyway, so at this juku, where children were already tired from school and they came to these schools again after school to be better at English, to be better at whatever else they were learning. And it was a difficult thing to teach children when they had no attention span at all. I mean, they already had their school day in front of them, and after that, they are going to these places. It's like what you would call a tuition. I know it's very popular here, sending your child to a tuition after they have had their school. So anyway, I had to find out how to be interesting to these children to get their attention. At the same time as I was teaching at a juku, I was also teaching at a company. It was a car company, and I was working for them because they had to deal with foreigners. So I went there to give them conversation lessons. So imagine my situation. I have a group of adults, I have a group of children, and I have a group of business people. So trying to integrate all of them. The common thing I found out was whatever you do, it doesn't matter. What you need to bring to the table is an interest and a passion. And it worked. 4 years in Japan, and then my husband moved to Germany. I was just getting used to Japan, and I was learning to be my own woman. I was learning to have independent thoughts. I had come out of this Indian woman setup. And then we moved to Germany. And I think, oh no, once again, I have to start all over again. But, and then I thought, oh, I know, it's not so difficult. I have lived in a foreign country, I have taught in a foreign country, and it's going to be a breeze. It's not going to be difficult. That's what I thought. I went to Germany and found it a totally different setup. It's a European country, and I realized Asian countries are close to each other, at least in your mentality, even if we look very different from each other. Japanese and Indians don't look similar, but we are quite similar in the way we think. But Germany was a whole new ball game. And once again, it was my cheekiness that helped me get a job. So the first school that I applied to, again, when I say school, it's not a school for children, it's a school for adults. It's a language school where people come to learn a language. In India, we have an understanding, we all speak English. We don't need to go to a special school to learn English. But mind you, we do not speak English we speak Indian English. And the kind of usages we have are, or would be understood only among Indians. But if you go abroad, you really need to speak the way they speak. You really need to be sure that your grammar is right. Okay? So when I went to this language school to apply, the boss looked at me and she said, we only employ native speakers here. And I was totally flabbergasted. I thought I knew English. I thought I had been speaking English. I thought I had been teaching English all these years. And this lady says to me, we employ only native speakers here. So I looked back at the lady and I said, the English were with us for 200 years. But by native speakers, if you mean blonde hair and blue eyes, no, I don't have that. That's what I said to her and walked out of the school and knew she would never ever employ me. But remember, one very important thing about life is if you want something passionately, deeply, life will give it to you one way or the other. 2 weeks later, I get a call from the school. They have a problem with teachers. They do not have teachers. And they say, will you come and help us out? I went, I helped out, and I became a permanent teacher of that school for 12 years. But around the time that I started working there, that was already early 90s, things had become difficult in Germany. There were no permanent positions at all. So although I was teaching there, I also started looking for other jobs and found them. This was the best experience of my life. I got a job in a school for adult education. It was called the VHS, Volkshochschule, and it is a school for adult education. And I'm really sorry India doesn't have that kind of a facility here. For people who are aging, for people like me, maybe I would like to learn carpentry, maybe I would like to learn Russian, maybe I'd like to learn something else, cooking or whatever. So there is a school in Germany that caters to these needs. Your parents, your grandparents might still have a lot of life in them, and they might be spending it in front of the TV or telling you what you can do or what you can't do, or paying too much attention to you that you don't want, simply because they have the time. It is for people like this. They go out and they learn a language, they learn a new skill. And I got a job there. And that school, so every place I went to taught me something. The school for adult education, most of my pupils were senior citizens. And I had been teaching English properly until then. And then I went into this class and I wanted to teach them grammar. I wanted to teach them how to use the rules. And they taught me that they were senior citizens. They did not come there for language lessons. They came there for language lessons, but actually what they wanted was to look at their neighbor and speak to them. You know, people are so lonely. People get caught up in their lives and they become so lonely. They do not have contact. So this was a nice way of making sure people of like-minded interests come together and have contact with each other. And it was the most fun class I had. They taught me a lot about history too. Most of these people were survivors of Nazi Germany, so they had undergone a very bad period of history in their lives. When they talked about their childhood, about their growing up, it seemed to me that their value systems was not different from my parents' value systems or my grandparents' value systems. So I learned a very important lesson. The Germans look different. The Germans have a European culture, and our culture is Asian, and we have different value systems. But actually, all of that is only the cover. It's like the dress you're wearing today. The dress you're wearing today is not you. There's a different you underneath. And this is similar among all people, among all nations, really. And when you understand that, it binds you to the person. So I can see a person in this audience here who's looking very tired, and I can be angry with him for not listening to me, but I can also have an understanding for him. There is also a part of me that would like to sit back and sleep. So there is empathy there, you see? And literature is all about empathy. With the teaching these senior citizens, I got an offer to teach at a technical college. Now I moved from a very laid-back surrounding, from a very easygoing surrounding, into a serious surrounding. These were college students like you, and they were gearing up for technical courses, but we had to teach them English so that they could also go abroad and work or study if they wanted. In England or in the UK, they have an exam called the First Certificate, FCE or CAE, Cambridge Advanced Level. And you need to pass these exams to go to UK and study there. And we had to get our students skilled enough to do this kind of course. And again, my teaching was very different now. I had to become very tight. There was a certain portion that I had to, like your teachers probably, you have your semester exam, and before your semester, you need to complete this and the other in order for you to be able to sit that exam. And that's what it was for me. And teaching, and my final step up the ladder was that I went to the university where I had to teach teacher trainees. These were people training to teach English as a teacher. See? And this was again a very, very demanding course. It was a very challenging course, very demanding course, but also very interesting simply because it was so demanding and challenging. And these people were often very focused. They knew exactly what they wanted. So try teaching. It's very difficult to teach students who are not interested. And again, it's very difficult to teach students who are too focused. So you had to find a mid path to them. It was a very interesting course. What was very interesting about it was the translation. They sometimes had to do translations from German into English. Now, I had no certificate in German. My German was only conversational. I had picked up German from the people I talked to, or from my children, etc., or from my students, but I did not have a proper degree in German. But in this particular course, they had proper German texts that had to be translated into English, and the translation had to be perfect. What I'm trying to tell you is it doesn't matter what things are expected of you. It doesn't matter. You might think, oh, this is expected of me, but I haven't got this certificate or I haven't done this course, but you can do it because I did it. And it was all right. It worked out very well for me and for the students. So remember, do not be stopped by anything that you think that others tell you. Do not be stopped by things that others tell you. They say, you can't do this. Oh, you need this to do this. No, you don't. If you are interested and if you are focused, you can manage to do anything. My last and final class was again at the university, and now from teaching very specialized people, I had to come down to teach people who were just beginners in English. These were European. They had come to Germany as some as refugees, but many simply as students. So these were from East Europe. I had students from Russia, from Poland, from Uzbekistan, from Kazakhstan, from Belarus, White Russia, and I also had Chinese students and I had Indonesian students. These were the large part of my group. And it was extremely interesting to see how all of these people, totally different cultures, they don't speak the language, they don't speak German, they don't have any common language within them, and then they try to communicate in English with each other. And that was a learning experience for me. So what I learned from all my experiences that anything is possible and everything is possible, but the thing is you need to want it. It was around 2014, the time was around 2014. It was the beginning of trouble between Ukraine and Russia. And I had Ukrainian students sitting on one hand and Russians sitting next to them. And I realized people do not need wars. People do not want wars. People like each other. It is politics that does all of this. So that was also a great learning lesson for me, that I am not this or that. I'm not Indian or Pakistan. Because I'm Indian, I do not hate Pakistan or hate China. I can be friends with them. Politics is a whole different cup of tea. So these were many valuable lessons I learned. In 2014, my mother turned 90 and I had to return to India to take care of her. And I was reminded of a quote that says, there is a season to plant, there is a season to harvest. There is a season to work, and there is a season to rest. And I realized I had completed my teaching career. I gave it up with a lot of heartache, but with all the lessons learned, because the lessons that I learned in teaching, I can use in everyday life in different ways. But I can use it. And it's the same with you. You are learning lessons every day in your life. And you learn it in a certain set of surroundings. That's not the only place that you can use it. You can use it in many different ways. Literature makes you a complete person. Try and become the complete person that there is. The potential is there in you. You have the potential. Don't waste it. Use it. Do what you're passionate about and do it as best as you can. And if you bring that to the table, life is always, always going to give you a helping hand. You might say, but my family situation is like this, but my health is like this. Whatever the problems, you will be able to find a way to go through that easily, to swim through that easily. So with that, I would like to close my lecture. All the very best to all of you, and I hope you can really find that potential and exploit it completely in you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your true and inspiring words. Now, as we approach the conclusion of the inaugural program, I'd like to express our gratitude to all our distinguished speakers for sharing their valuable insights.
Now, I call upon G.M. Prem Kumar, Assistant Professor, PG Department of English, Dwarakadas Govardhan Das Vaishnav College, Organizing Secretary of this international conference, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Very good morning to everyone present here. As we draw curtains on the inaugural session of this international conference on the global perspectives in contemporary English language and literature, I am filled with gratitude and admiration for the collective efforts that has brought us together this scholarly platform. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt thanks to the Honorable Secretary, esteemed Principal, Dr. Santosh Babu Sir, whose unwavering belief in power of education and scholarly discourse continues to motivate us in all our endeavors. A special note of appreciation goes to the Professor Sumitra Kannan ma'am, former professor at Christian Albach University, Kiel, Germany, whose insightful keynote address has set the tone for what promises to be a stimulating and enriching conference. I must also acknowledge the invaluable contribution of our head of the department, Mr. J. Praveen Prabhu sir, whose steadfast support has been the pillar upon which we have built this conference. The words of William Shakespeare, "We know what we are, but know not what we may be." This conference serves as a beacon of knowledge, guiding us towards new horizons and possibilities in the realm of English literature and language. Once again, I extend my heartfelt thanks to each and everyone who is present here for participation and presentation. Let us embrace this exchange of ideas with open mind and generous heart. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for acknowledging the efforts that have made this conference possible.
Before we conclude, please make a note that the parallel sessions will be taking place at different venues. Session 1 is happening here. Session 2 at the Seminar Hall 1, first floor, main building. And Session 3 at Seminar Hall 2, second floor, main building. We kindly request all participants to proceed to the respective venues. I also request the student participants of DG Vaishnav College, 1st MA, 2nd MA and 3rd BA to present here in Vallabhacharya Auditorium. And first BA students to occupy Seminar Hall 1, first floor main building. Second BA English students to occupy Seminar Hall 2, second floor main building. Thank you.
Thank you once again for your presence, and we wish you a day filled with